Gaming, a definition that can range from this to this and even this. I am going to be talking about, however, is this, on the more electronic and technological aspects of gaming and the ambience behind video games. But what is ambient gaming? Well, bear with me and you will find out soon enough. I can assure you though, it is certainly not the background music playing right now. Along with most other people, I was first drawn to technology when I figured that there was an element of pleasure that could be gained from using that technology. And again, like with many other people, my foray into technology began with video and computer games. Of course, every single living being is imbued subconsciously with the jitters and conditions that make up what I like to call a process. The mere act of opening one's eye relies upon a series of steps that ultimately lead to the person behind the eye being able to see and witness the world around them. That Ian Bogost came up with is called procedurality. Procedurality, according to Bogost in his book Pervasive Games, refers to a way of creating, explaining, or understanding processes. Procedurality, along with twin understanding of procedural rhetoric, which can be summed up as a concept attempting to explain how people learn through rules and processes. Plan to expand upon ambient gaming, a concept that is often confused with the study of music and sounds in video games. My own form of ambient gaming is an attempt at simply looking at games and gaming in a more convoluted fashion. I define ambient gaming as a dialectical process that looks at the relationships and ways of exploring the ambient environment to and of games, and the ways in which we influence games and are influenced by them in turn. I aim to bring in the ambient notions, meaning the human aspects of gaming, and present them front and center for all to see. Thomas Rickert, in his book titled Ambient Rhetoric: The Attunements of Rhetorical Being, states that rhetoric accomplishes its work by inducing us to shift, at least potentially, how we dwell or see ourselves dwelling in the world. Technology is all around us, and being naturally inclined in that direction, my descent into playing video games began from an early age. Even back then, I understood that video games and the playing of them would jump up and over any and all preconceived notions of that time, such as the playing of video games encouraging antisocial behavior. There is a tendency to forget that video games are the result of reality, whether social, political, or cultural. They are not an escape from reality, rather they are the end results of reality. My discovery of process as an actual thing that influenced me and others started when I first began to realize that the appendages that were protruding from my body were things that I could use to grab objects with. Following from that point onwards, a series of processes and the choices resulting from those same processes have shaped every facet of my life. From choosing to attend one university over another, or choosing to stay in on a Friday night instead of going out. Bogost defines process as something that gives meaning to the way things work. Ambient gaming plays a central role in understanding the process structure of video games. In a year at South University, I took a course that first introduced me to the world of rhetoric. Despite being green and hesitant to venture into what was an entirely new field for me, I managed to delve into the topics at hand and discovered a rich tapestry of rhetorical study centered around video games. It was not a sudden enlightenment, being more of a gradual process taking time and energy to walk through the challenges I faced. As in my writing of this essay, I took more time in getting the whole process together than it took to figure out what I was going to write about. Less attention was paid to data or facts, and a lot more attention was given to the series of steps I needed to take to obtain a working essay. The idea of process matters intimately in the world of video games, and that reality exerts upon video games an influence that can have wide-ranging effects on the outside reality as a whole. Video games use the real world as a backdrop that must be painstakingly replicated, not just as a surface, but rather staying connected to the innumerable stages and meanings that are a part of events and places in the real world. Imagine that a friend had come over to play a video game with you, Dynasty Warriors 7 for example, which is an iconic hack and slash game. Any fooling around with your friend will cause you to play differently in the game. Think of another game like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, and you're playing online this time with thousands of other players from all over the world competing. In this case, you're playing solo with no team, no clan members. You might fool around with strangers and troll each other, but there's an added might. If you notice, that might rapidly turns into a world when you do choose to play with friends. Plenty of making fun of each other, and when that happens, would you not agree that the whole environment of the game has changed? You might be more serious, you might be less serious, but the fact of the matter is that something has changed and morphed your perception of the game and the gameplay itself. I always like to humor myself with wondering how game producers and developers came up with all their storylines that are a part of any video game. Has led me to venture beyond the mere act of playing games and onto figuring out video games. For instance, there has been a rise in loot boxes in games, which are random consumable virtual items in games that can be utilized to gain other randomly consumable in-game items. They rose from the monetization of free-to-play games and have spread outwards into pay-to-play games as well. Backlash, however, has been swift and unrelenting, as the case of Star Wars Battlefront 2 shows. Electronic Arts, the producing company of that Star Wars game, has surrendered to the demands of customers and dropped loot boxes. And although it took quite a while, the fact that the huge company relented to the demands of its consumers is significant in itself. What happened was that the developers and distributors of the game had freely let in their own desires and experience into the game. You can either choose to ignore it or not, but the fact that the games are a representation of reality is something that cannot be denied. The push and pull of the effects of the environment upon games and vice versa is a fascinating topic, and one that will hopefully be explored more in the future.